People say it's the most haunted hotel in America. But that's not what interests me. What interests me is how many people have fallen. This building has a longer memory than most people realize. Once a year they do this. The doors are locked. The lights go off. And the building is left with whomever remains.
People assume that Norman Baker brought the darkness into the building, but he didn't. There were reports of something off going back to the earliest days, to the school, to the construction years. It was when he walked into the building, he just added to it. It was already there.
It was possibly in 2019 during one of the Crescent's ESP weekends. A friend of ours got pushed down those stairs.
These stairs right here.
Stairs right here.
Well, the staircase is one of the steepest in the building. It's steep and it's tight and it turns. And if you fall down that staircase, you go down hard.
They were up in the bedroom. They'd gotten a couple, if I'm not mistaken, they'd gotten a couple of nasty EVPs. I don't remember what they were. But she came down the stairs, felt hands on her shoulder, and pushed her down the stairs. She ended up at the landing.
Unbelievable.
So she didn't get hurt too bad. I was a little sore, but it did happen.
I've worked in this building for over a decade. I know these halls. But tonight, something feels different.
Door flung the light on and flipped it open right when I heard a thump. She was on the floor, out, completely out. We had to pause tours. We had to have people come down and make sure she was okay and all that.
Accident after accident after accident, or something else.
We've seen a number of people on the tours end up on the floor. They just collapse or they fall over. Some lose consciousness, some are just out of it. They're like, they can't talk, they can't get up, they can't do anything. We have to call someone to help them. And I think it's a ghost from the Baker Hospital days. It's outside the entrance to the pain asylum. And what I encountered, it took me a while to figure out what happened. Coming through that door on that side of the wall, and she's holding on to it because she can't stand up very well. And I think she's either trying to escape the asylum or come out and find help. You know, we don't really know what happened to those people. Some people say they were neglected back there till they died. Some believe they might have been abused back there.
Even myself, I fell in this building. More on that later. This is a very special place to me because this corner right here is where Julie and we celebrated our 1-year anniversary. And in this corner. Now I've got some lights here, but otherwise it's very, very dark here. In fact, my camera is overcompensating low light. It's very, very dark. I have to tell you, we were sitting here having breakfast and I just fell in love with this room. And I thought to myself, it would be so amazing to do a show in this space. And over a decade later, Julie and I did our first seance on Halloween night in this building. I believe the year was 2012. It's the same year that I hung off the roof of the building, and we'll go up there as well. And what am I doing here tonight? We're hunting for ghosts. So I've got an SLS camera set up here. So what I'm gonna do right there, you see that sensor? Okay, now watch this. If I walk in front of, I'm turning and now I'm walking in front of the sensor, and pretty soon, yeah, look at that. And it can see in the dark. It's like night vision, but it's also any kind of an object, it'll map with the stick figure functionality. And Maddie, she walked up and I tested it on her and you could see her mapped out, but then crouching down on the floor, we saw something that looked like a dog, but there was nothing there. There's 2 cats here and they're adorable. And they weren't here, but yet it was like something was on the floor. And I wonder if it's gonna come back. And if it does, I hope I catch it. And then I've got this, pride and joy. They're old school temperature gauges. And that way, if there's a drop in the temperature, and that happens at the same time that we're getting activity on this thing, it's another layer of proof We will continue to check in on that gear throughout the evening, but let's get back to the history. Because before the hauntings, before the hospital and Norman Baker, before the Crescent had even finished being built, somebody had already fallen. I didn't come here looking for ghosts. I came here because something keeps repeating. And repetition leaves evidence.
Michael Liam has been here for a good century and change. First spirit ever, actually. So he was the son of of an Irish stonemason family that was brought in to help build the hotel itself using a revolutionary at the time method of stone laying, which was just having really cleanly cut blocks and no mortar whatsoever. 17 at the time or so, and the story goes he was up on the 4th floor of the building helping to lay down the bricks, and a young woman was just strolling on by in the garden or such, looks down, sees her, and he tries to get her attention. And one way or another, he does so, and she's looking up at him, and he's so happy to even made it that far that he begins doing a jig on the top to impress her, except he was not as sure-footed as he believed he was, and so he tripped and fell into the skeleton of the building and hit his head on a beam that would go into building 218, which killed him instantly.
He fell before the building was finished, before there were even guests.
And people do occasionally report hearing that same or similar thump against the ceiling in the middle of the night, which we're pretty sure is a residual haunting of the moment of his death.
The personality didn't die with the body.
I think he's happy here. He likes the guests coming. And he's not at all upset about being here. But he is a prankster still, opening doors, opening drawers.
I've had quite a few dramatic ones with Michael. He would rock the fan in the hallway in anger when I mentioned his fall.
Liam, are you here?
If this were just a ghost story, it would end here. But it doesn't. After Michael, the falls continue. But the next one wasn't an accident. In the late 1980s, a police officer was sitting at the scenic overlook in Eureka Springs when he saw a woman fall from the top of the Crescent Hotel. He called it in, and when he arrived at the building, nothing had happened. This building has been a college, a hospital, and an asylum. Tonight, oldest and most consistent reports tied to this place. A woman seen falling who never hits the ground. Okay, so here we are. This is the top floor, okay? Look down there. This is supposedly where this young girl, back when the place was a girls' school, she came up here and she threw herself off the roof. She jumped off, and there was a cop across the valley, and he thought he saw a woman jumping off of the.
About a police officer. He was at the East Mountain overlook. He was sitting there, I believe it was around 9:30, and he was having a break, sitting, and he was looking at the Crescent, and he saw a woman on the 3rd floor balcony, and all of a sudden she fell. So he was got into cop mode. He called it in. He drove there as fast as he could, and he got there, and the place was just normal, like nothing had happened. People aren't panicking. Everyone's normal. Nothing had happened. There was no woman in the garden that had fallen. He was so humiliated.
The place was a school for girls, and a girl got pregnant, probably by a staff member who did not want to be a father and didn't want to be held responsible. And they believe he pushed her off of the roof here. And when Julie and I did our seance here many years ago on Halloween night, in our seance script, we did a shout out to the girl in the mist. And I said, were you pregnant? Was it a staff member? And these people had these ghost tubes or whatever the app is, and it started talking. And it said, with my baby. She was pregnant. Pushed me, he pushed me. These things are coming through in the apps in real time. And she dove off the side of this building. That's the lady in the mist at the Crescent.
Whatever happened to her happened before the Crescent became a hospital, before the asylum, before the morgue. But just a few years after she fell to her death, a man drove up, and his plans were to turn this building into something completely different. His name was Norman Baker.
It's like you're walking down the hall, and like I swear to God, there's a shadow of somebody back there, but it's just my own shadow with this flashlight. And this is the thing about haunted venues, is when the storyline is already set in stone, you can just freak yourself out before anything actually happens. And we make use of that at Intrigue Theater too, by the way. But like I said, we've done this 3 nights in the past. This is our 3rd time. And I say we, unfortunately I'm not. I feel like I know everybody so well at this point, but Julie's not here because she has a family member that's just entering hospice, ironically. But we're going through this, so I'm by myself and I miss her, and I'm worried about her. But I can't pass up this opportunity, and thank God I came tonight, because this is the most gripping. Out of the 3 nights we've done this, there's just there's a real, like, deep respect for the phenomenon of the Crescent Hotel. There was one lady in the dining room visibly freaked out.
And I walked into the ghost parlor, and it was immediately almost like I was walking in water. Like it's
Really?
kind of like bogged down. Like I just got very fatigued, very slow. And then my ghost tube said leave.
And somebody thinks I got pushed down the stairs in Dr. Baker's residence. Here we go for more.
Different people, different decades, same vertical ending. And then someone took over the building.
Well, Norman Baker arrived in May 1937. He's driving a purple Cord. He's wearing a white suit, whole theatrical bit. And he came driving up the hill, but he wasn't here to visit. He was here to buy the building and turn it into something else entirely.
He didn't come here to study the Crescent. He came to convert it.
Well, he filled this building with hundreds of patients.
Hotels host people temporarily. Hospitals control them completely.
And when someone died, they didn't leave the room empty. It just turned over to new patients. And that was how the system worked, was constant turnover.
This wasn't chaos. This was a business model.
Oh, for 2 years, hundreds of people came through the building. He could accommodate 300 people in the building, and it was always full. And they came expecting that they would survive, and they paid a fortune for the treatment, which did not work. And nearly all of them died of cancer. But Baker kept his operation running anyway.
All was because of Norman and his cure. It was 2 parts. The first part was mental therapeutics.
He called it mental therapeutics, and he gave his patients exercises to do in addition to the treatments, so-called, that he was giving them. And then if they didn't get better, it was his fail-safe. He could say, well, you didn't do your exercises properly. It was your fault if you didn't get better.
Belief became compliance. Compliance became profit. He sold certainty. He delivered suffering. And then the system collapsed.
And I met some people there one night. They weren't even on my tour. They stayed in room 310. They brought their own game camera and they set it up. And while they were sleeping, check it out, they caught a little girl standing by their bed on a night vision motion activated game camera.
Whether you believe in ghosts or not, systems leave residues. And systems don't live on stages. they live underneath them.
Here we go.
Next, where the system ends. If you're into investigations like this, please subscribe and share this episode with someone you think would want to spend the night. And if you've experienced something at the Crescent or know another location we should test and investigate, please tell us in the comments. You wouldn't think a hospital that cures cancer would need a morgue. Baker told patients they'd walk out of here healed, go home, live. But some of them never made it that far. This is where the promises ended. Not upstairs in the wards, not in the treatment rooms. Here. Because some patients died in the building, and when that happened, Baker needed proof he'd done something.
Oh, for 2 years, hundreds of people came through the building. He could accommodate 300 people in the building, and it was always full. And they came expecting that they would survive, and they paid a fortune for the treatment, which did not work. And nearly all of them died of cancer.
Hundreds of failures. And Baker had to explain this somehow. There's a story about what Baker did down here. Not just autopsies. Harvesting. Tumors, organs, tissue samples. Preserved in jars. Labeled. Cataloged. And they displayed them upstairs in the lobby as proof that he had removed the cancer. That was the story anyway.
Well, that was the story that we were given.
No physical evidence, just stories, until... We'll come back to that. The morgue was built for the dead, but there are accounts that suggest this place is still very much alive.
She was practically in tears. She said, "Oh my goodness, there's children. They're all around me, and they're tugging on my clothes, and they're begging me for help." And she also said there was a gentleman in a white lab coat who was being mean to them and putting them under that autopsy table that's in there. It was all very disturbing.
That's not a ghost story. That's a room remembering what it was built for. Upstairs, people believed. Down here, the building kept the truth. Tonight we're here, doors locked, lights off. We're not trying to prove anything. We're just documenting.
In the morgue, in the meat locker that the dead bodies were piled up in before Dr. Baker did his autopsies. And I've set up an SLS sensor from the Connect system.
If something's still here, we'll see it. If not, the room still tells a story. But systems don't end when buildings close. And not everyone who worked here left. During the Crescent lockdown, the building is empty. No guests, no staff, just corridors that weren't meant to be quiet.
Well, 3,500 is.
This is the pain asylum, right?
It is.
These rooms have changed over many times over the years. Today, they're luxury suites. During the college years, they were music rooms. And during the Baker Hospital years, they were full of pain and tragedy.
This was during the college days. This is where the girls could come practice their music, learn how to play an instrument, stuff like that. It was a soundproofed area. Well, when Norman came and found the soundproofed area, he went the completely opposite direction than music. Norman put in steel reinforced doors out there, and this is where he would put his patients that were getting a little loud. And the reason that they were getting loud was because of Norman and his cure.
The patients were in so much pain that they were wailing, they were making noises, and that was no good for business.
In the hospital, it was belief. In these rooms was containment.
They weren't actually getting cured. And it's really terrible because we do not believe anyone made it out of there alive. And so there is an apparition that has to do with that. We believe it's a woman in a nurse's uniform pushing a gurney down the hallway from that area all the way towards the elevator stairwell area and then vanishes.
That's not folklore. It's a timestamp.
And it's a residual haunting, which means that the woman in the nursing uniform does not speak to you, hear you, see you, or interact with you in any way.
Completely unresponsive.
Yes.
The hospital promised cures. The asylum hid failure. The nurse removed evidence. If anything answers us, it doesn't come from the rooms. It comes from below. There are places in this building that feel historical, and there are places that feel occupied.
Yeah, Baker's residence was a 2-story suite, bedroom upstairs and sitting room down below. But it wasn't separate from the hospital. It was embedded within the hospital. He just walked out of his door and he was in the wards immediately.
This isn't just where Baker slept. From here, he controlled everything.
I'm at the pinnacle. I'm in the tower. This is like a small bedroom above the living room in the living area. This is the 3rd year I've done this. The place has been locked up and the lights have turned off in the past. But tonight feels different. There's a calm, a spooky calm to this event. It is a little after 10 o'clock and I'm coming down from Norman Baker's bedroom. And, what can I say? It's dark and I slipped. And I fell a few steps. I got everybody's attention here.
The staircase is one of the steepest in the building. It's steep and it's tight and it turns. And if you fall down that staircase, you go down hard.
Okay, so when you saw me fall down the stairs, what was the first thing you thought?
First thing I thought is you might have gotten pushed. A friend of ours got pushed down the stairs.
These stairs right here.
Stairs right here. But she came down the stairs, felt hands on her shoulder, and pushed her down the stairs. She ended up at the landing.
Unbelievable.
So she didn't get hurt too bad. It was a little sore, but it did happen.
Doing the Estes method over here. Sat down and leaned against that railing right there. And then I had the headphones on, and all of a sudden I heard, "Get up," like deep, raspy, angry. So I got up. I think it was Baker.
And I turned to look at him and he's standing behind me and I can see him, clearly looks like a man. He says, "You should recognize me. I'm here every night and you talk about me." And he disappeared.
So this was like a full-on apparition?
Full-on apparition.
I'm telling you, I think tonight's different. I feel like last couple of years it's been, just people playing with the toys and not taking things too seriously, but they're more serious this time. Way more serious. It's a way more I don't know what the word is, sober crowd here.
Yeah.
Different people, different years, the same stairs. If people have been pushed down here before, and Baker has appeared to others, then the question isn't whether something happened. The question is, what's still here?
A response isn't proof. It's a pattern. Over 8 hours, we documented what happened in this building when it was empty. Some of it made sense and some of it didn't. She walked up and I tested it on her and you could see her mapped out, but then crouching down on the floor, we saw something that looked like a dog, but there was nothing there. But before you decide on why any of this matters, you need to understand how we approached it. This is the Crescent Hotel during lockdown. Just go get something out of my car real quick.
No, sorry, you're locked in here.
No guests, no staff, no interruptions, and no games. We set up systems throughout the building, SLS cameras, temperature monitors, not to prove ghosts, to remove variables. By midnight, we tried something different. The Estes method removes visual cues. You can't see, you can't hear the room, just white noise and whatever comes through it. The method isolates the signal. It doesn't interpret it. It doesn't prove anything. It just removes bias. What you hear is random radio scan. What you say is what you say. The question isn't whether it's real. The question is whether it's repeatable.
But Tesla, he did not believe in the paranormal for a while, and then he did, because he actually experienced paranormal activity himself in his lab.
Tesla believed that energy, just like Einstein died, was eternal. So he believed that the voices of the dead were still out there in a frequency that he could find. Tesla believed that he could capture sound from the departed because those frequencies never died. That's EVP.
Is there anybody here? Is there anybody here? Whether consciousness behaves like a signal. Tesla believed that if consciousness persists after death, it would operate on frequencies we haven't learned to detect yet.
Are you able to hear us okay? We just came here to talk to you and learn more about
Tuesday.
Do you know what room number we're in?
Crickets. Do you recognize me?
What's your name?
You know what's really funny?
Steven.
Oh.
I'm in two places.
Sharon was.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh!
I'm afraid of ghosts.
That was spooky.
Whether communication with the dead was a technical problem or a supernatural one. I thought I was done with that project, but this investigation kept pulling me back to the same question. And what we're building next is a return to that work, with better tools, better questions, and hopefully better answers.
Susan called me one morning. She said, Keith, I think I've just found something interesting. You might want to get over here as soon as you can. So I came racing over, and Susan showed me a bottle. And so as soon as I saw what Susan had, I recognized it from the graphic that we have of Norman Baker's. And so we saw that there were more bottles lodged in.
Okay, what separates this archaeological feature from just any old trash dump is that we know most of the material is medical related, and knowing that we had the cancer treatment hospital here at this location, that we knew that this trash dump, along with this early advertising from the hospital showing his medical specimens, and we started removing the bottles and stuff as well, we were finding matches to his signboard, so that is just sheer proof that.
On this one, we know the bottle dump was a single episode, so the name of the book is You Don't Have to Die. It just so happens that in this text they are talking about a red paste and a yellow powder, and we have in the artifacts a yellow powder and a red paste, so you don't get much better tie-ins than that.
400 bottles buried in the backyard. That story was true. While we were upstairs running the Estes session, our camera was still running in the morgue. That's not proof of anything. But the jars are real. This investigation doesn't end here and points somewhere older and stranger. The Tesla Spirit Radio segment revisits the work I did years ago with better tools, better questions, not to prove anything, just to see if the signal is still there.